The Mercedes double podium at Barcelona has got their fans very excited. This is the first time this season the team has achieved a podium on merit, which was very much evident with George Russell's drive from P12 up to P3 despite his terrible qualifying performance. With such a performance, fans can definitely expect Mercedes to be up there at Canada, but the team has been playing down its prospects around the Montreal circuit. And I can understand why, and I would be siding with downplaying expectations, as it is apparent that the new upgrades have its own downsides. So in today's video, let's talk about how much more the team can improve the W14. Or are Mercedes basically done with upgrading its 2023 car? And let's cover on a small loophole Mercedes might be exploiting to gain more time in the aerodynamic facilities. On last week's Spanish Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton led George Russell to score the German racing stable's first double podium of the season. This result is very much exciting for fans, because the Brits were able to achieve such a result after the team's introduction of an almost B-spec-like upgrade. That upgrade package included a new floor specification, new sidepods design, and a new front suspension. During the race at Barcelona, Lewis Hamilton finished 24 seconds behind race winner Max Verstappen. Mercedes' average race deficit to the winning Red Bull this season till Spain, excluding Australia, is around 39 seconds. So, if you look at the numbers, Mercedes has gained around 2 to 3 tenths per lap. But the silver arrows are still around 4 tenths a lap adrift of the leading Red Bull. Overall, the W14 was the second fastest car around the high downforce Barcelona circuit. The W14 might have been the second fastest car, but still the team has to catch about 4 tenths per lap to be even close to the Red Bulls. The 33-point haul at the Spanish Grand Prix allowed Mercedes to move ahead of Aston Martin and the constructors with an 18-point lead. Finishing as high as possible on the constructors is very good for a team, cause the higher you finish, the more prize money the team gets at the end of the year. The silver arrows are probably aiming at P1 in the constructors, considering the recent form of Red Bull's Sergio Perez. But still, the Mercedes drivers have a massive gap to Max Verstappen, which will be very hard for the team to close up. And the team will have to keep up its Barcelona pace at every race weekend from here onwards if it wants to rival Red Bull. But the team's trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin expects the Canadian Grand Prix to be a difficult weekend for the Silver Arrows, and his expectation is mainly down to the track's low downforce nature, which is the exact opposite of the Barcelona circuit's requirements. The update kit works very well around circuits like Barcelona with a lot of high-speed performance, explained Andrew Shovlin. Although, the car itself would have still been okay there without the upgrade, because we've been better at the fast circuits and the front limited tracks. We ended up with a really good balance and really good race pace. Now, where we are going to go next week, Montreal, it's a very different circuit. There are more low-speed corners, quite a lot of straight-line full throttle, and we would expect more of a challenge there. The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya is regarded as the ultimate test for Formula 1 cars, as the layout has low, medium, and high-speed corners, combined with long straights. Teams will be able to examine the full potential of cars around the Barcelona circuit due to its features. But in 2023, the last chicane was replaced with two fast 90-degree right-handers that removed the element of the track which required a lot of downforce. Therefore, in 2023, the track's downforce requirements were a bit lower than its 2022 configuration. We have now seen plenty of arguments amongst fans suggesting that Mercedes' performance at Barcelona suggests that they have taken major steps forwards. But unfortunately, the changes made to the track layout could have made the running at Barcelona a bit less representative. If it was 2022, yes, we can agree with the W14's performance all around. But the track revisions did not allow us to witness the W14's performance around slow corners with a high downforce requirement. We are not thinking that we are going and nipping at the heels of Red Bull. We are going in there prepared for a battle with Ferrari, Aston Martin, and maybe even Alpine. We are aware that Canada is likely to be a bigger challenge than the Sunday we just had in Barcelona, said Shovlin. Mercedes moving up to P2 in the constructors' standings should and will be seen as a win for Mercedes, but their success makes the team to face certain consequences. While making changes to the regulations regarding the cars around 2022, the governing body did make more changes to allow the playing field to get closer. The budget cap is one of them, which has restricted teams to a spending limit of $135 million for the 2023 season. This amount is a revised figure with the current levels of inflation accounted for. The governing body also introduced aerodynamic testing restrictions. This is a sliding scale introduced, which essentially restricted teams from the number of wind tunnel runs they can carry out, alongside restricting computational fluid dynamics, or CFD items a team is allowed to develop for the development of their racing car. Previous years, teams had on restrictions on the number of hours they are allowed to use the wind tunnel, and the amount of CFD work they were allowed to carry out. So, teams ran their facilities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every possible day they can, to extract the maximum performance out of their cars by development. Some teams even ran 2 wind tunnels side by side to extract the maximum. Mercedes was one of these teams, and they were spending much as $500 million on its F1 team, becoming the highest spending team out of the entire grid. Not even Ferrari spent that much money in Formula 1, despite participating in the sport every season. The sliding scale of aerodynamic testing has a baseline of 320 wind tunnel runs and 2,000 CFD items per 8 weeks. Mercedes is allowed 80% of this baseline due to the team finishing third in last year's constructors' standings, which means the Silver Arrows have 256 wind tunnel runs and is able to develop 1,600 CFD items every 8 weeks. This aerodynamic testing scale is recalculated at the end of June every year, so as it stands now, Mercedes will only be able to enjoy 75% of that set baseline. Considering the fact that Mercedes has made a complete design change with its W14, this is the time where the team will be desperate to get their hands on these aerodynamic testing facilities as much as they possibly can. Clear evidence for this is the leap Aston Martin has made, a team which finished 7th in last year's constructors' standings and now fighting titans like Mercedes and Ferrari. That goes on to show how much these aerodynamic testing facilities are important in modern Formula 1. Mercedes have just started to gather data relating to his rather new car concept. Undoubtedly, the team will find many places where they should make improvements on. That's where these aero facilities will give a big helping hand for the Brackley-based squad, as the team would like to be absolutely sure of what the upgrades are improving in the car, and how much are they improving. Mercedes sits second in the constructors, with an 18-point lead over Aston Martin. That is very close, and a good result for Aston at Canada could again put the Silverstone-based team second in the constructors. That could give Mercedes some crucial extra aero testing for the Silver Arrows for the second half of 2023 and for the first half of 2024. Former F1 world champion Damon Hill is thinking very much ahead, as he reckons Mercedes should perform really badly till the aero testing restrictions gets recalculated. Hill reckons that sort of action will allow Mercedes to enjoy more time in its aerodynamic testing facilities. Hill believes that dropping down the order is very useful for the team to develop next year's W15. I think going forward you've got the development curve and the cost cap restrictions to think about, because ironically the better Mercedes do, the less scope they've got for the following year, he said in the latest Sky Sports podcast. So you've got Aston Martin who are benefiting, if you'd like, from a poor performance relatively from last year. The glass ceiling is much higher for them. And you kind of wonder whether Mercedes ought to be thinking about doing really badly between now and the end of the year. Performing badly intentionally goes against the spirit of the sport. Formula 1 is all about winning. Losing on purpose is not what teams are expected to do. But with rules set with a sliding scale, any team who can take an advantage would try to exploit it. It is clear that no matter how hard they try, Mercedes are in no place to close the gap to Red Bull. This makes next year's W15 the priority for the Silver Arrows. That's what Damon Hill also feels. Hill thinks performing badly till the aero testing restrictions are recalculated could provide the team with much needed time in the wind tunnel to develop next year's W15. You are right to think dropping down the order will lead to the team finishing low in the constructors, leading to less prize money. Money is not an issue for a team like Mercedes, who are ready to spend more than $500 million in Formula 1. Damon Hill also admitted that this action would spur tough reactions from the team's accountants. There'll be accountants and all sorts of experts that will tell you that's an absolutely stupid policy and strategy. Mercedes is a team which provides its drivers with financial bonuses for their in-season performance. So, I expect the team also to have certain performance bonuses from the team's sponsors. Sponsors want their brand name to be flashed up on the television more than often. That only happens when the car being sponsored is winning or fighting at the front of the grid. You don't see cars of teams like Williams or Haas being showed most on television. It's Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari which we see the most. So all of this is not about the prize money Mercedes receives at the end of the season. Mercedes won't be tanking its performance just for the benefit of getting more aero testing times, even if they had the chance to do. But Andrew Chauvelin talked about the leaps the team would make this season. He did say that the team will not be making big leaps and bounds in the rest of this season, with him admitting that most of this season's budget was spent of the new floor and suspension. Basically, we made a new suspension and suspension is expensive to make and to fit on the car, he said. So the reality is that with the budget cap, we are always looking at our situation in this world championship. We don't know how many things we're going to do. I don't expect to make any leaps and bounds. Andrew Chauvelin did admit that the money was well spent on the new suspension, floor and the side pods. But the team won't be having much more money within its safe to keep upgrading the W14 for the rest of the season. So what do you guys think? Mercedes has about 4/10 gap to Red Bull. Can the Silver Arrows close it? Will the team play tactically on the constructors' standings to get more aero testing within the regulations? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section down below. We'd love to discuss it with you. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2023 Formula 1 season.